Which dead celebrities are treated like saints, but were truly awful people when they were alive? Jerry Lewis. He treated his family like shit, cut his kids out of his will, and was a real POS on set. Watch some clips on YouTube of him and his behavior. Terrible. Most likely stemming from when he and Dean Martin split from being Martin Lewis. Everyone thought Dean would disappear and Jerry would go on to be a massive star. As it turned out, it was the complete reverse. He was a bitter person. Frank Lloyd Wright. He is seen as a visionary in architecture, but he was a horrible person IRL. Raging narcissist, abandoned his wife and kids to run off with the wife of one of his clients, nailed down his selected furniture in a client's home because he didn't like what the client wanted, etc. I haven't seen Michael Landon's name come up yet. He did amazing on Little House on the Prairie, but apparently he was actually a raging alcoholic, and even his own kids made a documentary about the father I knew. Bing Crosby. Years ago, while watching Blue Skies with him Fred Astaire, my dad gushed over Astaire's legacy. I asked what Bing was like and he said, besides beating his wife and kids. What a voice, can't watch anything with him in it now. He was a monster to anyone close to him. Johnny Carson. He cheated on his wives and was an all-around prick when he wasn't on camera. The most widely known example was him telling Joan Rivers that she'd never become the star of The Tonight Show. She was the permanent guest host at the time, then refusing to ever speak to her again after she got a job elsewhere. I forget where I heard the quote, but the greatest showman is what you would get if P.T. Barnum made a movie about himself. The guy was a not good person in real life. The music slaps though, NGL. My grandpa worked on Hitchcock's last movie as a key grip. Supposedly, just as they were about to shoot the last shot of the last scene, Hitchcock said, "I'm tired. Let's wrap. I'm going home." The entire crew tried to explain to him that this was their last day on set, and that they were scheduled to fly halfway across the country the next day. If they wrapped now, they'd have to recreate the entire set in a studio lot when they got back, costing them a lot of money just for an incredibly short film time. But Hitchcock insisted, so they wrapped, went home, and rebuilt the set from scratch. And that's ignoring the fact that Hitchcock had never gotten out of his car and had instead directed the entire thing from inside. Pablo Picasso was an abusive raging narcissist who sucked the life out of people around him. His muses were generally young women he'd domineer and destroy. Frank Sinatra. My grandpa's girlfriend and her husband used to work for him, and he was a right bastard. Didn't think that he had to pay people that worked for him, treated employees bad, all the usual human stuff, edit. My grandpa was a widower and his girlfriend was a widow. Frank Lloyd Wright. Abandoned his wife and children to take a mistress, who was herself already married. He drove his butler insane, and the guy ended up killing Wright's mistress and her kids, burned down his studio, and committed suicide by drinking acid. Wright wasn't there at the time. Wright's response to this was to rebuild the studio exactly as it was before, supposedly to honor his mistress and their children. But it was pretty obvious to people at the time that he just wanted to protect his legacy as an architect, as many of his most famous innovations were showcased in the design. Sure enough, it became the museum to his work and is still visited today. Committed suicide by drinking acid, that has got to be one of the most metal ways to commit suicide I have ever heard.